Here with Mr. Giffen, ObamasWeapon.com, and I'm reading this article. Facebook CEO gives Obama an earful. The most important and insightful thing this kid is saying is engineers work tirelessly to improve security. We imagine we're protecting you against criminals, not our own government. So many people still don't even realize that this surveillance program has opened up it's shown us that we have no protections from the government, and the government's annihilated their competitors. If you dig a little deeper, they got rid of the mob, they got rid of gangs, people who could challenge them, they got rid of other countries. Now all that's left is our government, and these guys are ruthless terrorists, torturing, murdering motherfuckers that can't be prosecuted, won't prosecute. There's no criminal justice amongst their own ranks. And so what we're seeing is these abuses of surveillance stuff to control and dominate the public. It has nothing to do with fighting criminals or doing stuff for terrorism or national security. And this is a very insightful comment from the insides of Mark Zuckerberg, who is one of the few people who actually understands that the government's surveillance programs got this things out of focus, have nothing to do with fighting crime. And it's all about the government's domination of the public. And so they invested all this work in trying to protect the Facebook users from the government, who are the new criminals. And Google did the same, but I don't trust Google one bit. I trust Zuckerberg a little bit. I'm not saying I trust him, but this comment here is, this is how everyone should feel, that they are being abused and the government is doing things to violate their rights and their safety. And Zuckerberg, this comment goes along with other types of surveillance. I'm talking about satellites, electronic warfare, and directed-energy weapons, which are confirmed to be used on Americans today. And it's an issue not many people know about. It's genocide. Genocide. I'm telling you, genocide. This is worse than Saddam Hussein gassing a couple of people that he tested his chemical weapons on in the 90s. This has been going on in the United States since the 50s. MK Ultra was a program of testing out weapons on the public. Drugs, microwave weapons. It ended in the 70s, but didn't end. It's just when it was exposed by Senator Frank Church. There was also COINTELPRO by the FBI. NSA was running a MinArt program back then. Senator Church said the NSA is the company to fear the most because their long-range radio wave technology and the ability to spy on you remotely, not using cables. I'm talking about airwave radiation emissions monitoring in your home. That's what the NSA is all about. And the NSA also has this other crap today, like they're tapping signals of all sorts, from brainwaves to cables and telephones and fiber optic backbones. And Echelon is the name of the software system that it's the same thing as Skynet. It's been around since the 70s. And goddamn NSA has a new hack program that automates hacking into all electronic systems too. And the mind is hackable. And there's an article on the Army's website about how 1997 it says the mind has no firewall. And they've known this the whole fucking time. And all these weapons are from the 70s. People don't know that there's also a whole bunch of people out there in society, thousands to hundreds of thousands of people who have been targeted with microwave attacks or have been influenced by the government in some way with it, like having their memories tampered with or having an experience that they thought was mental health related or alien. They thought it was an alien abduction, or they thought it was the government did this to them, and that's what Dr. Robert Duncan says. And there's also people who they simulate schizophrenia with it too. So we think that all these people are paranoid, but the government's really attacking them, and that's why it's all related to this NSA stuff. We saw one part of the NSA stuff And there's stuff that's out there that's there, but people aren't covering it in the media like they are certain fringe media sites like Abby Martin on RT. It's not really fringe, but people don't get on YouTube to watch her videos, and she works with RT, and she might be broadcast in Russia, and you know, there's other sources. PBS runs some of it. Anyhow, this guy, Mark Zuckerberg, has nailed the way that the public should feel, and most people, I talk to half of them, and they don't even care about Snowden. They're like, they don't even know what Snowden is talking about, or if they do know it, they're sitting there like, oh, well, they don't spy on me. Yes, they do, bitch. They don't even know that they're being spied on. They're a target of this program. Every individual. Nothing to do if you're a criminal or if you're doing something wrong or not. It's because they want to. The government's controlling us, and they also control the media and the messages what we're fed, because they're. It's a system of mind control, and if you look up the article, like I said, the mind has no firewall. All the messages and stuff that were sent, the government is helping implement, so that we are only given what the government wants us to see, and we're not given the truth. We're given cover stories that make us think the government is doing what they're supposed to be doing when they running these warfare programs and stuff. When we don't ever hear the truth, we hear something that somebody engineered a story for us to read, and everything's like that, and the media is reporting on it. We're seeing every major crime of the government covered up. We're not seeing mass. You know, who wants to believe that they're trying to murder and kill us and control us? And that our police are deliberately doing things to beat us up whenever they can, and that they don't even really respect our fucking Constitution. When that's actually what's going on as a whole. And you gotta look at the big picture. And there's articles too. If you go on my website, it says there's an article by a guy who worked at the White House or something, PhD, and he's a doctor, you know, and he says the police are more dangerous than our criminals, and the police are psychopaths. In the article, it's on Boeing Frog's Post or something, or a whistleblower website of Sybil Evans, the FBI whistleblower. She's also the one that runs a big whistleblower coalition. Russell Tice is part of. 10, 20, 30, dozens and dozens of whistleblowers are part of it, from the military, different sectors, AT&T, different places. The guy who did the leak on the fiber optic cable is part of it, I think, too. There's so many names on the list that you're just like, wow, it's a lot of whistleblowers. Also, Thomas Drake, the NSA whistleblower, he just did an interview on Jesse Ventura, and he said, and this is off the grid, his kind of show that's on the internet, on orca.tv. So Jesse Ventura is big in this. Not everyone knows him, but he's on top of this police state, corruption, all these interesting political things, and surveillance, the brain control stuff, the microwave stuff too. And you get on there, he's actually done an episode called Brain Invaders on that, and on it he had CIA operatives discussing that, yeah, this is real. Even Occupy protesters had been targeted, thousands of people, everyone was at risk. And Dr. Robert Duncan's the guy that worked for the CIA and Department of Defense and Department of Justice, that's the FBI. And he said, yeah, people are being tortured with this. I helped empower the dark side and all this. And it's confirmed real. And it's been confirmed real for years and years, and no one's done anything. And the media, the mass media, is still not covering it. It doesn't matter if it's been on TV, if it's on the radio, there's books about it. So the government could do these little secret attacks on someone that could last for years, and you could die or get tortured, and no one's going to help you. Is the end result. That's my experience. And there's so many bad organizations, no matter what you tell them, they're never going to help you. Whether it's the police, or the government, or the different media outlets or attorneys. Even the ACLU is shit. They should have everything figured out by now, but they don't. And they're leaving everybody to die who's dealing with this. Furthermore, one of the patents, there's a patent for a multifunctional radio wave directed energy system. They could put energy anywhere, in any space they want, anywhere on the planet, directing energy to that point, like down to the molecular level. Energy, microwaves, which are very tiny, atomic level, smaller than atoms, radiation anywhere, to hurt a person or to fuck with them and do things. Radar, they could beam waveforms at your brain to control it, and nobody knows that the radar systems are that complex. They're that amazing. I mean, they are the same thing that's in an MRI machine or inside a CT machine is inside the radar systems. And the ability to do Doppler and different methods of imaging over hundreds of miles, and also the beam. At the same time, you could do different things with that energy besides just imaging and tracking the movement of particles. And see, that's, if you begin to think about MRI, you're tracking the movement of molecules, water molecules in the body, H2O or hydrogen or something, I don't know. And it's radio signals creating resonance inside of particles in your body, which creates a return signal just like radar does, except it's in our small room. And radar is on a bigger level, and it's monitoring everything globally, including over large cities and open space across the whole country, whole globes. And they have what's called mind-reading radar, which is tracking the electrons and the movement of the electrons and what the frequencies of the brain. And so they're mapping out people's brains, and they're able to read people's thoughts through a brain-computer interface. And satellites can do it too. They could also, using the same energy that they use to if they do the same energy that they use to scan an object or read it, they could use to manipulate it too. Because that's what radar is. When you beam a radar signal or a laser at atoms, it changes electrical and electromagnetism and the magnetic properties of those atoms, creating a return signal that's how they read it. And so that's using the same method. They're altering the patterns of the brain to make you hear voices or see things or to control it. Police also secretly linked up with it. And I'm just telling you, that's what all this is about. And they're using it on a global, massive scale. It's been around since 1976 or longer. The first documented use of mind-reading radar was at Moscow in like the 50s. The Moscow signal, they call it. Russia was using that on the U.S. Embassy, and the United States had it too. And it's officially patented in the United States in 1974 by Robert Malik. It's owned by a radar company. Today, the patent it was sold it's been going down to different companies: EDO Corporation, and then ITT Corporation, and then Exelis Inc. and Raytheon too. Raytheon's got a lot of similar technologies, and their latest patent covers a lot of the same stuff. Kind of like reinventing the wheel and adding more onto it. The Raytheon patent. It's from 2007 for almost it. Their patent would describe also includes like targeting people for slow kill and other things and all sorts of purposes, knocking out targets in the air and planes and sometimes missiles and buildings. Everything's a target, even the atmosphere. And it talks about weather control in the patent. Okay, I get tired of going over this, but here's what I also want to say. I forgot to say this. There's a patent, or there's technologies. You can imagine the Department of Defense, how amazing their technology is. When they're tracking humans with this technology, they also have the ability to watch your pulse, like your vitals, and whether you're breathing. It's like all they got to do is look at you with their radar or their satellite, and they see if you're breathing or not, if you're still alive. If the targets are alive, they know to kill them, or they know to target them. And if they're dead, they know not to target them. It's all automated in their system. Dr. Robert Duncan actually wrote the software behind this. He wrote that in his book. And so they have that level of technology. And I don't know how they can tell if your heart's beating It's probably evoked potentials in electrical activity, but I know that Apple has a similar patent that just monitors your facial expressions. But I think it's both, because that would be the light spectrum method of doing it, and then you have the radio wave spectrum of doing it, and you might even be imaging the heart beating with radar. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do, and so the DoD, the FBI's got this. The FBI, the CIA, NSA. See, NSA are the guys that have this. They're the ones that run all the goddamn surveillance systems and their satellites and their fucking radar, the radio wave stuff. And they got radar tricks they can do, and they got all sorts of stuff. I mean, they could do all sorts of stuff to humans and electronic devices, remote control. And it's crazy. And also reading, they could mess with your DRAM and install a program without having any other way while the computer's on. Flip bits in your computer. Introduce a rogue signal onto a monitor, or read the signal from a monitor. I mean, there's so many cool techniques and nobody even knows. Anyway, I just got the bitch whistling again. You know, when I hear the whistling going on, I've already got multiple recordings of these gang stalkers coming around me whistling. They'd be listening to me and then starting up a whistling. So I got a video of that city employees doing the whistling around me. Then I recorded it. I've got many recordings. Started up at the state hospital in 2007. The purpose of the whistling was to make me sound paranoid and schizophrenic. If I complained about something they were doing or saying, they'd deny they were doing it. Whistling, they found out I was sensitive to sound. They started doing it around me. They wanted to condition me to be, sensitive to it, and different stuff they were doing too. It's a way of terrorizing me with sound. And I found all sound and imagery is a method of getting into a person's brain. Doesn't matter what it is, video or audio or sounds. Every little thing is. Even sensations and things in the atmosphere. Lots of things.